Hello, everyone, and welcome on in. I'm super excited to be here with you today and get a little bit into the February 2025 astrology and unpack some of these important transits that we have going on this month. This is a part of my monthly report for what I'm seeing for the month ahead from an evolutionary astrology perspective. If you have, or just discovering me, right here, you could see my Instagram, my TikTok, my Facebook, my YouTube, and everything is here for you alongside my website. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about myself and my practice, you can learn a lot from these places and what I talk about here. And so let's go ahead and get into this. So again, my name is Richard, and I am an evolutionary astrologer. I have been doing this for many, many years now, and I want to start to share more wisdom and insight about the transits and what's happening for us, but from a different evolutionary way. And so you'll see as I go through our talk today, our perception or my perception from an evolutionary angle is a little bit different than perhaps some of the more modern or traditional perspectives that are out there today. At the end of the day, my desire and my passion is aligned with understanding the evolutionary journey of the soul. I want to understand why are we here? And I believe that with each transit that is unfolding, it is helping us understand the journey of the soul that much more in our own individual and our collective lives. Again, if you'd like to learn more about me, you can go ahead to thestarwhisperer.com. There's my socials if you need. And just some upcoming events that I have going on if you'd like to hang out and get to know my practice again or just see me speak on different topics. On February 2nd, I'm a part of the 2025 and Beyond Summit with the Astro Priestesses. I'll have the link down in the description if you're interested in signing up for that. I'm doing a talk all about the new age of deconditioning and our perception of reality. It's a conversation and interview about the relationship of Pluto and Uranus for the years ahead. On February 7th, I have a live with Tara. This is a part of something I do called Soul Streams with her. If you've seen this before, you're very familiar. This is a bi-monthly thing that we do together. On February 7th, we're going to be talking about Venus retrograde on Instagram. On February 12th, I'm going to be talking about Venus and love with Charlotte, another amazing astrologer on Instagram. On February 12th is my private monthly Zoom for Patreon subscriptions only. And in these events, I unpack a specific transit. We talk about something that is important that's coming up. We go through some example charts or even celebrity charts. I answer your personal questions. It's a really fun time. On February 13th, I have Conscious Conversations with Andy, who is a relationship coach. And we're going to be talking all about the blend of relationship coach and psychology with where I come. It's going to be super exciting and fun. So I really encourage you to check that out. Andy is one of my closest and best friends. So this is going to be something that I think you'll find a lot of value in because he has a lot of wisdom to offer in the relationship department. And lastly, February 17th is the second Soul Streams with Tara, which is our introduction into Pisces season. For more information on any of my latest events, again, you can visit my website at thestarwhisperer.com or check me out on social media where I will be talking about this more. Okay, so last but not least, if you are not a member of my Patreon and you want to support me in what I do, this is the information to my Patreon. I have three different memberships, all depending on how you would like to support. And if you would like to become more of an avid student of astrology as well, and evolutionary astrology, there is a membership there as well. And it is patreon.com/the Star Whisperer. And if you do come join, please send me a message once you do. I do offer discounts for individuals that are part of my membership, and I would love to invite you towards my February 12th monthly Zoom call. And so definitely please check me out. If you guys have any questions, please let me know about that. And let's go ahead and get started with the 2025 astrology for February. So here are the 8 essential transits and dates that I picked out. Now, I just want to clarify that when it comes to February of 2025, there are a lot of transits that are unfolding, but for the purpose of maintaining some level of focus, I really kind of plugged out what I thought were the most important for us to pay close attention to. And so from the beginning of the month, through the end of the month. We're starting off February with the Venus Neptune North Node conjunction, which is going to unfold between the 1st of February and the 6th of February. In the mix of this, we have the Mars and Cancer squaring Chiron and Aries, keeping in mind that Mars is still retrograde during this square. Jupiter stations direct on the 4th. And so we're starting off the month pretty strong. And again, I just want to clarify for those of you that are listening that I'm about to go a little bit more in depth with each of these transits for you for the month of February. On the 9th, we have the Sun Mercury Cazimi, indicating that we are getting close to that Mercury retrograde cycle. And then a few days later, we have Mercury squaring Uranus, the Sun is squaring Uranus. And then just a few days after that, we have that full moon in Leo on the 12th. As we end the month, we have Mars finally stationing direct in Cancer after what probably feels like a very long time for many people. And then we end the month on that new moon in Pisces. So let's go ahead and unpack this. And I just want to say something as well as we do have some planetary changes this month, but Venus definitely entering Aries is a pretty significant deal for me. I didn't specifically include that transit because I'm doing an event talking about this on Instagram with Tara. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Venus retrograde cycle, Venus entering Aries, please come join me on the 7th with Tara when I talk about this. Okay. So here on the right-hand side, I just want you to know I pulled the chart for you to see the actual chart for the day. This chart that I pulled is for February 1st, which is the Venus conjunct Neptune, and Venus will conjunct the North Node on the same day, all in Pisces. And so before I unpack what this transit really represents, what I think is important to notice is that we have a lot of momentum in the sign of Pisces going on right now. And from a deeper evolutionary perspective, when we're working within Pisces, we're working with some level of understanding or finding union with the universe, with God, with Goddess. And these are things that Jeffrey Wolf Green used to speak about. And when we're within the Pisces territory, we're trying to align ourselves with that ultimate truth. And so, to some extent, a lot of what is unfolding with these Pisces transit and what we're going through right now is going to help us align deeper with Source, with God, with the universe, with Goddess, whatever you believe. There's some moment of alignment with that ultimate truth that is unfolding for us. And what's really unique is that these planets are going to be interacting with the North Node. And in evolutionary astrology, the North Node is absolutely pivotal for understanding the integration point, because the North and the South Node are always going to be opposing each other in astrology. And the South Node is going to help us understand how the soul has come to understand itself at an egoic level and understanding the gifts that it brought with itself. But when we're looking at it from a transitory perspective, that South Node in Virgo is going to be a releasing point of those Virgoian archetypes that are really not benefiting us anymore. And so if we are trying to control, if we are trying to perfect, if we are trying to take on more work and do more things, that North Node in Pisces is going to kind of kick us a little bit and say, is that really what the soul or spirit of the universe wants right now? There's some level of surrender that needs to show up here for us. And so when we have when we have Venus coming into this equation, I always like to teach that Venus has a dual rulership. Okay. And Venus has an inner and an outer relationship in astrology. She rules Taurus and she rules Libra. From a Venusian Taurian perspective, this is about our self-reliant relationship. It's about learning to satiate and meet our own needs. It's how we relate to ourselves. Thus, how we relate to ourselves will create a frequency and a vibration that then manifests and attracts the outside world. Venus, through the Libran perspective, is how we could project our unmet needs and desires onto partnerships and relationships, or how we could become the beacon for other people's projections or expectations. And so when I see Venus coming through Pisces, there's this big call to action for unconditional love. But we have to remember that Venus shares in Pisces that relationship with the axis of Virgo. So we can't forget about the discrimination here. And so one of the key elements about Venus coming together with Neptune, we need to be so very careful about the balance between romantic idealism, which is seeing these relationships through these rose-colored glasses and having ungrounded expectations of relationships. And equally at the same time, the balance to potential faded connections that can be unfolding during this time. It can almost feel as if a soulmate like energy or even a karmic mate energy is coming into our life for a purpose and for a reason at this moment in time. And that individual may be teaching this Pisces lesson of learning to let go, learning to trust, learning to have faith, or perhaps learning how to trust your intuition, learning how to trust those gut instincts when something feels off. The other big thing about Venus and Neptune coming together on the first is it's going to be a massively creative time, an opportunity for deep spiritual inspiration and expansion. This is a great day for meditation, a great day for visualization, a great day for tuning ourselves or channeling from spirit. This could be almost like the divine is taking our arm and drawing or coloring or writing or whatever that creative expression may be. Now, the other thing I just want to say here about when we're dealing with so much Piscean energy is to be very careful of the potential of escapism and how we could escape the reality that's around us and how we could be lying to ourselves as well. And this is it can manifest in so many different ways, whether it's relationships, whether you're going to go out and have drinks with your friends this weekend, or whatever you may be doing. Be conscious and careful of how we are escaping. Discernment and discrimination is key when we're working with Pisces because everything could feel so good, but is it real or is it a fantasy? Pay close attention to your intuition. Your intuition will be super sensitive during this time. And the synchronicities could be significant again, because at the end of the day, when we're working with Pisces, we're working in alignment. We're working at dissolving everything and anything that is not in alignment with that greater ultimate truth. And it's such a spiritual energy for me that I feel like it takes a journey to go within. One of the things with Pisces here is that we're not going to find satisfaction or joy in anything necessarily around us. It's a deep alignment in finding that satisfaction and connection with God or the universe. So there is this dynamic here where we may need to let go of control. Maybe we need to evaluate how we are finding meaning and value right now in our life. Is it really honest? Is it really giving me meaning and purpose? And so when Venus comes into that North Node, being conscious of these themes, especially if there are new people or new romantic encounters that are entering your life, or if there's a realization that perhaps the relationship you're in, you need to be liberated from because it's not giving you the true connection to source or to that ultimate truth, or we've been necessarily not being honest with ourselves about a relationship. And so this is one of the most important transits. And again, as Venus comes into this North Node, she will enter Aries shortly thereafter, and Neptune is going to come to the North Node, which I'm going to talk a little bit more in a minute. And that conjunction is on the 6th. But before we get to that conjunction, as this is all happening, we have Mars retrograding, squaring Chiron and Aries at the same exact time. And this is such an important transit for me to unpack because Chiron is an Aries ruled by Mars. Aries is Martian ruled, right? And that Mars is retrograding in Cancer right now. So this relationship can be a bit challenging for us. And in evolutionary astrology, this specific square is called a first quarter square, or also known as a crisis in action. And so what's happening here is we may feel the imbalance or the inability to act on specific things or take action because we're unsure or we're insecure. One of the big things that we could see with Mars in Cancer right now is that it could be surfacing and bringing a lot of emotional dynamics to the table, forcing us to look at where we feel emotionally insecure, addressing early childhood wounds, addressing where we don't feel safe and comfortable in this world. And with Chiron and Aries right now, we are dealing with that wounded warrior element, and we are trying to heal that warrior spirit. Chiron and Aries for me is the spiritual warrior. And I've done some videos talking about this, by the way. And one of the things that I would say is that this could be a day for us where we may feel triggered from some old wounds. And there may be some things that are being illuminated to highlight where we need to be more vulnerable or where there are some triggered wounds that we need to take care of and heal and work on. And so one of the balances that I want to look at here is the dynamic of emotional repression versus explosive reactions, because Mars in Cancer can represent passive aggressive behavior or emotional repression. But what's happening here is that with Mars being retrograde, being or having this conversation with Chiron and Aries could create explosive reactions, being like, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore, and just reacting. And there could be a lot of anger that can come out of this transit for some people. And so there may be a call to action for more space, for more independence, or maybe we need to set better boundaries with people where we feel like those are being overstepped. These are all themes that can be coming forward. And if we look backwards to the fact that we are in this Venus North Node's Neptune North Node transit, excuse me, there could be some themes that are coming through our relationships or how we valued ourselves, or maybe we didn't value ourselves enough and we got ourselves into some tricky situations. The other big area of focus here is going to be tied to family dynamics here, definitely with Mars and Cancer. Themes related to family may be very significant, or home life, or what's happening at home. So just being aware and conscious of these dynamics here, there's a desire for me to express myself. There's a desire for me to assert myself. But how do I do this without burning every bridge that's around me? Towards the end of today, I'm going to give you some contemplations, and some of them will be tied to this transit because I do think this one is very important for us to unpack. You know, Mars will station direct in the month of February, and we'll have a dance with this Chiron again. And so I would be very conscious of the themes that are illuminating for you right now, because March may feel like a continuation or an extension of what is happening in February. The other big thing, the date I just want to mention is the 23rd is when Mars stations direct in Cancer and will be in Cancer until the middle of April. So there's a long journey here that is unfolding between Mars and what's happening in Aries. So paying close attention to this, I think the themes, the triggers, the emotional dynamics, where you don't feel safe. How do you feel about your relationship with your family? How do you feel about your relationship with your mother? These are all things that may be coming forward right now. How do you feel about your personal sense of autonomy in this world? Yeah, that's where some of this energy may be surfacing for us. On the 4th, which is just a day later, Jupiter will station direct after a seemingly long journey, about a 4-month journey here, of what we were looking at. I believe it's a November or October. I don't have the date in front of me. I don't have my ephemeris actually right now. Yeah, we'll station direct in Gemini, and from here forward, Jupiter's moving forward straight to Cancer in June. And so, for those of us who remember, Jupiter entered Gemini last year in May in 2024. And what I want to encourage us is to look back between June, well, it was the end of May, so let's say the end of May until about October to November, what themes were being illuminated for you in your life as far as where Jupiter Gemini is falling in your chart. Because what's going to happen is the moment Jupiter stations direct, it is going to be a burst of energy as if the horses are being released from the gates. There's this forward momentum of energy coming forward for us. This is going to increase the mental network that is happening here. We may notice new ideas, mental explosions, mental overload, over mental stimulation may be happening here. And so being conscious of that, the fact of if you're already feeling a little overwhelmed, it's really important for you to embrace the fact that there may be new ideas or perspectives that are coming forward for you to kind of give you better clarity or direction instead of being overwhelmed. You know, Jupiter is tied to our intuition. So now more than ever, when Jupiter stations direct, it's going to be important to try to intuit the way forward. And what I would say is be open with Jupiter and Gemini for conversations, new communications, or new people coming into your life, new friends, new social circle, conversations with your siblings if you have them. There's going to be some sort of expansion happening in this department for many people. And I think what's important is if you look back at last year and the timeline that I was sharing, what types of progress were you making? And where do you feel like some things may feel stuck or feel like things are not necessarily expanding the way that you would like them to? This could be the opportunity for some things to take off here. Now, I just want to be careful of getting scattered, getting restless, getting being all over the place where you start feeling like you're on a merry-go-round and you have no idea what to do or where to go. If you're feeling that way, it is super important to breathe in and go inward. Again, having that North Node in Pisces is a call to action for us to lean in and surrender. Try your best to not feel overwhelmed by the vast amount of information that is about to come into our lives. And then on the 6th, we have Neptune conjunct the North Node, which I am super personally excited about. This is a very powerful, powerful transit for us. And it's going to last quite a bit. It's going to pretty much last almost all of February. We'll feel this energy for quite some time because Neptune is quite a slow moving planet. And so, one of the big things here is this is a huge signature of spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment. The babies that are born with this transit are going to be very marvelous, very intuitive, very spiritually connected children. Um, this is a huge call to action to trust our intuition, to trust spirit, to let the universe take the wheel. This is a time for us to allow ourselves to connect with divine guidance because it's almost like spirit is knocking on the door, and if you're quiet enough and you're able to silence the noise, you'll be able to hear and heal. Is another energy that I would bring up here. Um, Dreams could be super intense right now. Meditations could be super transformative right now. Lucid dreaming, all of these different things could be super, super prominent. Synchronicities, manifestations, dream boards, vision boards, all of these things could be super, super powerful when Neptune is on that North Node. One of the other big things that this speaks to me for is perhaps dissolving aspects of our identity that are not in alignment with that ultimate truth. Really accessing what the ultimate truth is in our soul purpose is huge. This feels like, in evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green used to talk about how Neptune is like the ocean. And as the ocean creates waves, those waves become individual realities or identities or physical human beings. Neptune on the North Node feels for me like we are coming back into the ocean of consciousness. And there is something about this that we're ascending or graduating or evolving in some sort of spiritual way. Could be a super creative day as well for us if you're a creative soul. Great day to channel, a great day to lean into your creativity, writing, color, poetry, singing, dancing, anything like this is a great, great, great day. A great month. In fact, like I said earlier, Neptune's going to be here for quite some time. Now, with any transit, there's a shadow side of this, right? There are always shadow elements to a transit. And the big thing here that you want to be careful of with Neptune is disillusionment. And I like to say that disillusionment, I think, is one of the most painful wounds that we are dealt with in life. And it's almost like we believed in something or someone only to see that we were lied to or betrayed, and what we thought was real is not. And so it's super important for us to be conscious of these types of themes that are showing up for us. Navigating faith with clarity, I think, is the key word here for me for this transit, because it can be very easy for us to be deceived or to believe in something that is not necessarily true. The other big thing that I would just say here is to be conscious and careful of spiritual bypassing, which is going so deep into the spiritual world that you're forgetting about your physical responsibilities. And I think that's going to be an important balance the entire year with the North and South Node in Virgo Pisces, but especially with the ruler of the North Node. I mean, I don't know if I said that earlier, and I apologize if I didn't, but the ruler of this North Node is Neptune, and this is Neptune is sitting on what it rules. So this is a very prominent placement for us, and you want to be very conscious of where 27, 28, 29 Pisces is in your chart, because this is where this magic is unfolding for you. And so if you know where this is in your chart, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And I just want to say that when it comes to Neptune on the North Node, I will be doing another live at the beginning of March um, with Tara talking all about Neptune and Aries and Neptune on the North Node, because what's going to happen is there's going to be a conversation that's happening here with Neptune on this North Node. Shortly thereafter, Saturn is coming into this North Node as well, which is going to be super important. Um, so this is a very spiritually awakening time for us. And so be very aware of what is coming through for you. I'd have a journal down, taking notes. If you have any ideas that are coming through to you when you're meditating or you're praying or whatever you may be doing, it's a super, super important time. This can also feel like spiritual destiny or fate is aligning for you. It's almost as if there's something universal that's happening for you, an out of body experience. It's almost like the universe is being born out of you or coming through you in some sort of way, could totally be happening. So that's just an example of some of these things that may be coming through with Neptune on that North Node. I will be doing more content on this because this is definitely an important transit for the year ahead. Um, On the 9th, we have the Sun Mercury Cazimi. Again, as you could tell, the beginning of the month is quite active for us, isn't it? For those of you who don't know, the Sun Mercury Cazimi is just a fancy technical way of saying the Sun is conjunct Mercury, which is indicating that we are getting ready for a Mercury retrograde cycle. The Mercury retrograde begins on March 13th or March 15th. Um, we're preparing for that pre-shadow period. Venus just started its pre-shadow period as well. And I think we're preparing for something, having Mercury in this area, I think is important because there's an opportunity right now in the month of February for a lot of clarity or sudden insights or breakthroughs. Aquarius is known or connected to the higher mind. And whereas Mercury is more the lower mind for all intents and purposes. So there's some sort of bridge that is happening here between the higher mind and the lower mind, and it's downloading information and wisdom, or being able to take that information and wisdom in a brand new way. So this could be a very idea driven day. Innovation and creativity could be through the roof of things that are coming through for us. You throw Neptune on the North Node at the same time, it's like spirit is communicating at this time. This could be a very revolutionary time for us, collectively and individually. What I'd also just say is that, Aquarius is also tied to objectivity. So I think something about this is to be conscious and careful of how we're feeling emotionally on this specific day. As you could see in the chart, we're going to have the moon in Cancer coming into Mars in Cancer. That could be a bit of an emotional energy here that's coming in on this day, which is the 9th. And I think part of this transit is, can we see through things without allowing our emotions to get the best of us? What I'd also just say is, from a collective perspective, this could feel like a day of important news. This is a day you want to pay attention to the news or conversations that you're having with people, being that we're preparing for the retrograde cycle coming up. Um, Anything from now and April, conversations that we're having are going to be important. And by the way, why I say April is that's when Mercury is going to station direct after its retrograde cycle. So we're in the midst of some really important conversations and things that are happening for us. And what I would say is just keep your mind open and try your best not to be attached to certain perspectives or beliefs, because you may find that your beliefs and perspectives are changing. On the 10th and the 11th, this is a really important day for me as well. Again, this is like one of those days I wanted to include in here. And I don't know if many people are going to talk about this transit as much as I would like, but we have the Sun Mercury square on the 10th and the 11th. Mercury comes into the conjunction first on the 10th, I believe, and then the Sun comes into, the square. And then the Sun comes into the square on the 11th. And just for those to see, Mercury is in a last quarter square with that Uranus in Taurus, which in evolutionary astrology we call a crisis in consciousness. Our belief systems could be going up for some change. This could be Uranus creating some level of disruption. Some level of unexpected conversations may be happening here. This could be sudden realizations that just change the way that you see things or see a situation. This could be something where we may notice that if there's someone that is trying to control, or you feel stuck, or you don't feel like your individuality is being respected or honored, this could be a breakthrough moment or a realization where I'm done. I don't want to be blocked. I don't want to be restricted. I want to be free. At the end of the day, Uranus and Taurus is seeking liberation. And liberation from what? I'd encourage you to contemplate on your own chart. At a collective level, we're trying to liberate from anything and everything that we think is giving us a basis of a sense of security outside of ourselves. This is teaching us self-reliancy. And so this day, there could be some unpredictable communication. There may be conversations we're having with people on this day that we're not really expecting or anticipating. But at the end of the day, Uranus is bringing these things forward because we're trying to help liberate from something. And I cannot I cannot stress that enough. What I'd also be interesting to see is on this day what's going on electrically wise, because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, Uranus is in Taurus, and then we have Sun, Mercury in Aquarius over here. What's going on with electricity and technology on this day? Are we noticing anything is happening? This feels like there could be some power outages or technical issues or something like this. If you work with technology, this would be a day to be very conscious of things in your work on this day. And then the last big thing that I put here is catalyst for change. This is 100% a catalyst for change. It's about embracing something new. It's about deconditioning and letting go of something so that we can become something new or do something new. This is tied to our thoughts and our beliefs, like I said earlier. And then on the 12th, we have that full moon in Leo. This is a big, big moon, as you could tell. There are so many aspects that are happening on this full moon. And I actually did an event back in January talking about this specific full moon. So if you're interested, that's a video I did on Instagram with Tara in our soul stream about Aquarius season. Excuse me. So if you're interested, I did a deeper dive with her talking about this exact full moon. And so what we have here, as I drew on the chart for you, we have that sun in Aquarius opposing the moon in Leo. The ruler of the full moon is the sun in Aquarius. And Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is squaring this new moon. Not new moon, the full moon, I apologize. At the same time, I wanna create a little connection for you that North Node, that line that you're seeing with North Node Neptune over there, is actually going to be a quincunx or an inconjunct with the moon in Leo. So this is definitely a conversation that I think is important for us to think about here. I have some notes for you on the side, but at the core of a moon in Leo, this is all about my desire to express myself. I really want to express my individuality. I want to creatively express myself in some sort of way. What's happening here is when we're dealing with Aquarius and Leo, we're dealing with subjectivity versus objectivity. And what's happening here is the moon in Leo wants to be loved. I'm giving so much love. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying to do so much for other people. But this specific full moon could be illuminating a potential wound tied to trying to overcompensate for love or trying to do so much to be loved or appreciated by other people. Having Uranus in this equation is going to highlight something for us that we need to break free from. It's something about self-liberation. And perhaps if you've been tied to other people's validation or other people's opinion, this feels like a sudden shift and break freeing from this type of energy. And all of it ties back to old wounds, old wounds here. And I think what's happening here is that inconjunct between the moon and Leo and that North Node in Pisces is challenging our egos. Are we willing to let go of an old story? Are we willing to surrender and dissolve and let something go, even though we're so attached to it? And so one of the other big things here is that there is a desire for change in this full moon. And I just want to also highlight that Juno is over at 25 of Scorpio. This would actually create what we call a fixed grand cross, which is highly, highly stressful. And I look at it like it's an elastic band that is stretching. And it's almost like how far can this elastic band stretch before it's going to break? Change is being asked of us during this full moon. And some people may feel this within their relationships because Juno does tie to partnerships and relationships. This could be platonic, romantic, friendships, work. Something is trying to shift in these dynamics for sure. What I want to be conscious of here is you may feel intuitively what you know you need to do, but you may be blocked by your old identity or old thoughts or beliefs attached to something. And so, what I want to be careful of here is that there can be a tendency for some people to escape this truth. This is a great day for deep, deep reflection and asking yourself, do I feel free? Do I feel like I'm living in my most authentic truth? And I pulled up the gene keys for this, and this is going to be highlighted in gene key 4 and gene key 49. Gene key 4 is the shadow of intolerance, and gene key 49 is the shadow of reaction. And there's something about this that speaks to wanting to break free from the past. There's something about this that there's a potential for us to let something go to find more liberation in this lifetime. And so perhaps there's something about this where we need to let go of how we're seeing something. We need to detach from a specific story that we've been telling ourselves and open ourselves up to a new story that wants to be told. Even though it's going to challenge our deepest securities, fixed signs here, this could lead to a revolution that changes your life. What we need to be conscious of is when we react, I encourage you to think, what are we attached to that we're afraid to change? What outdated patterns do we need to let go of? And this is going to be collective and individual. Okay, on the 23rd, we have Mars stationing finally in Cancer. And it's going to be happening at 17 degrees of Cancer. And again, Mars will be still in Cancer until mid-April. So from December 6th until February 23rd, there's been a story that's been happening with Mars and Cancer in a specific area of your chart. Mars will be spending until June 1st in Leo as well. So that area of your chart that rules Mars and Cancer, this energy is going to pick up. And so my question is, what did you learn? What did you gain? What's going on with family? And how are you feeling safe in this world? My biggest question about Mars and Cancer that I like to ask is, what does home mean and feel like to me? Is it something external or is it something internal? This is a huge chapter with Mars and Cancer for us to access our emotional body. Traditionally, Mars is a yang planet. It is external energy. Mars in Cancer is going inside into the emotional depth of our souls. Mars in evolutionary astrology is tied to the conscious actions and choices of the soul, whereas Pluto is tied to the unconscious desires of the soul. So, what we know about this is that Mars in Cancer is the conscious choices and actions we need to make are tied to our emotional body. Is there anything tied to family or at home that needs to be resolved? Is there any changes that you want to make at work or in your career? Why do I say this? Cancer reflects to Capricorn. The day that Mars is going to station direct in Cancer, it will oppose the moon in Capricorn. I feel like we're going to notice that some people are going to be going through some significant changes or adjustments within their work and their career at the same time. I think this is going to happen between now and April. One of the other things that I just want to say is to be conscious of passive aggressive energy and emotions. Be careful of holding back your emotions because this can also be a ticking time bomb energy. This is a transit about learning to take care of ourselves and learning to satiate our own emotional needs. If you need a break, go take it. This is a perfect time to take care of your well-being, to make sure that you are building on your boundaries, expanding your boundaries, and making sure that you feel enough before you go and do for others. It's super important here. One of the other things here is too with Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer can be tied to our bellies. So I just encourage us to listen to our bellies, listen to our hearts and our bellies. I think are super important as we move forward. The last transit that I really want to get into with you today is that new moon in Pisces, which will be on the 27th of February. And I highlighted this for you over here. This new moon is happening at 9 degrees of Pisces, a very exciting new moon. Uniquely, this new moon will be squaring Jupiter and Gemini, newly direct to Jupiter and Gemini. Whole new attitude. And the ruler of this new moon is Neptune. Neptune is over here at 28 Pisces still. Very, very close to that north node. Mercury is very, very close to that north node. And I highlight that Mercury in Pisces is creating a sextile with Uranus in Taurus. Conversations are super important for us to have. Keep in mind that Jupiter is in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini is ruled by Mercury in Pisces. That Mercury in Pisces is talking to that Uranus in Taurus. There's a conversation that is happening here in this transit that I think is very, very unique. And I think what happens here is that we need to be super careful here of overstimulation, overextending, overcommitting, doing too much of that Gemini energy to the point that we are either exhausted or we are distracted or we are getting ourselves lost on that merry-go-round of life. What's happening here is that the sun and moon in Pisces is going to definitely bring a lot of emotions to the table. And I think what's happening here is I feel like this could be a very empowering time for clarity. Again, going with the theme of February of spirit is knocking on the door and the universe is communicating with us. And I feel like having Mercury and Pisces communicating with Uranus and Taurus, this is a very harmonic energy about the conversations that we're having. And these could be internalized conversations with God of the universe as well. Could be a very clear day. But I feel like if you don't cut the noise, Jupiter and Gemini, you may be getting swept up in the illusions and the fantasies. And so on this day, be very careful about what you're believing in and making sure that you're taking the time to meditate, to cut the noise that's happening around you, whether it's social media, whether it's news, whether it's family, whatever it is. It's a day to lead more with intuition. It's a day to lead through spirit. And so I think this new moon is there's a potential for us, I think, to manifest and to receive those intuitive downloads from spirit. It can also be a very creative day as well, having this new moon in Pisces. And I feel like it's a big day to attune ourselves to that part of ourselves. Um, through meditation, through doing vision boarding or anything like this to manifest. On my Instagram, I actually have a manifestation intention guide on really teaching how to manifest. And that would be a great exercise. Those exercises that are in that little ebook are great exercises to do on this new moon. Um, I think what I would also like to just say about this new moon of having Jupiter and Gemini, is let's not, because it's a square, that's the thing I want to pinpoint, is that I feel like this could be tied to maybe our beliefs or believing in something, like I said, that's not true, because that moon is in that last quarter square to Jupiter. But what I'd also just like to add to the equation on this is that I feel like everything that's unfolding on this day, there's something about if you could take that step back, maybe go to the ocean if you can, or go to a lake or be with water and watch how still water can be. And if you can't get outside, maybe get a bowl of water and just sit with it and watch how still water is. Could be a very meditative energy to help quiet down the potential chatter on this day. And I just say this because I feel like it could be such an opportunistic day. The gene key for this transit is gene key 37. And gene key 37 is about actually building and developing more loving and unconditional, compassionate relationships with others. But I also want to say it might not only be about others, it's also about yourself. It's allowing ourselves to have more empathy for ourselves and others. It's allowing for ourselves to transcend emotional depth. And to be frank, Jupiter and Gemini may be thinking so much, it's not allowing for itself to get into the emotional depth. So this could be a great day for vulnerability. This could be a great day for us to have deeper emotional conversations with people that can ultimately be liberating for us, Mercury, Uranus. But what I would be careful of is the potential for excess with Jupiter and Gemini. Um, Having so much Pisces energy, I would always say practice letting go of the control. Practice having trust. Practice trusting in what you're feeling. This could be a day where those that are around you may be sharing things with you with this gene key and this gene key being activated and illuminated for us. And other people can be communicating or showcasing to you your own fears or your own triggers of things that we need to look at. What I'd also like to add here is that when we control, we do create our own chaos. So if you're experiencing any sort of chaotic energy around this time, I would ask you, are you trying to control something or is someone around you trying to control something? So those are the 8 main transits that I picked out for February of 2025. But what I do now is I want to give you some contemplative questions to kind of pair with this month, just to kind of let you think about these as we go through. And if, as we go through the month, if you want to share your answers with me, please share them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Um, I think it's going to be an exciting February for those of us who take the time to lean in. I think this could be a very spiritually illuminating month. I also think this could be a huge month of illusions and disillusionment, of believing in things and trusting in things that are not really true because we were lying to ourselves and we were not practicing proper discrimination. So here are my contemplative questions or exercises for February. What emotional patterns are you ready to release? I really want you to think about this one. Think about emotional reactive patterns or emotional triggers. How can you balance vulnerability, being vulnerable with someone that you love and care about, while also representing a sense of strength? And what is the relationship between vulnerability and strength? Where might you still be holding on to some illusions or fantasies? Where might you be believing in something, but perhaps you're not being honest with yourself? How are you contributing to the collective evolution right now that is happening on this planet? Are you allowing yourself to attune yourself to spirit, to God, to the universe? Are you listening to what your soul's purpose is? What ideas are coming through for you this month? that you can trust more, lean into? How can you get a little bit more uncomfortable by trusting these ideas that are coming through to you? What I'd also just say is practice trying not to overthink so much this month. Try harder to lean into what feels and what intuitively feels good. And how can you cultivate more compassion in your relationships, both with other people and yourself? How can you bring more compassion and unconditional love to others and yourself? What does it look like to have an unconditional relationship versus a conditional relationship? So, I just want to express one more time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and going through this February monthly astrology report. I hope you enjoyed. I just want to say that if you find this interesting and you'd like to learn more with me about evolutionary astrology, the tarot, spiritual growth and development, you can go ahead and check out my Patreon right there. It's patreon.com/the Star Whisperer. You can always follow me as well on social media. It's at the Star Whisperer official, and my social links were in the beginning of the presentation as well, and I'll share them in the comments or the descriptions. And I do my live events there. So if you want to kind of take some time to ask me questions on my live event, you're more than welcome to do so as well. I'd love to have you. If you did see this presentation and you do follow me on social media, please send me a message. And if you do join my Patreon as well, send me a message over there as well, and I'd be more than happy to respond to you. Again, I hope you all have a fruitful February. I think this could be a very opportunistic time in the midst of a place in the world where things feel a little challenging and dark sometimes. But if there's any time for us to come together, if there's any time for us to start to come together, it begins with today. And it begins with having a little bit more unconditional love for each other today. Thank you again. And I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for checking in. Bye, guys.